Hi, this is Hong. In today's video, I'm going to explain about Morgan middleware tutorial. Before diving into Morgan, what is a middleware? And middlewares are functions that have access to the request object, the response object, and the next middleware functions in the app's request and response cycle. So for those of you who have been learning about web development, and the web development is all about the exchanging sending an HTTP request to the server and fetching the response. And in the process of getting the response that have been generated from the server, the HTTP request sent from the user side, it can be modified multiple times. And that happens through middlewares. So middleware can execute the code based on what's written in there and modify the request or even the response. It can end the request and response cycle or call the next middleware. So, which means that there could be multiple stages of changes that could happen, like a chain of reactions. And it can either end the request and response cycle or it can so generate the response or it can pass the control to the next middleware. So if the current middleware function does not end the request and response cycle, it must call the next function in order to pass the control to the next one. And an express middleware is typically used for things like logging, authentications, parsing JSON, and handling errors. So middleware functions can either execute the code written in there, and based on the code what's in there, it can make changes, modify the request that's coming through the user side or or the response objects. And it can end the request and response cycle, or it can call the next middleware function in the stack. And then, yeah. So there were like a couple of good illustrations that I picked up online, and so do you try to notice that the request that's made from the user side, and before it generates the response from the server, it goes through multiple middlewares before it reaches the final route handler. Either it could generate an error message or through the error handler, or just it could create its response that user wanted. And in the process of going through multiple middlewares, that the HTTP request can go through multiple. So before starting the coding demo, and these are the official documentation that I was talking about in the slide. So this is the official documentation for express.js, and on this page explains about what using middleware means, and with all the coding examples. And as you see here on the left bar, these are all the useful middlewares that you can use. We see like cookie parser on the course, Morgan, and today's tutorial is focusing on Morgan, so I'm not going to explain the rest of them, but for those of you interested in learning more about other useful middlewares, I highly recommend you to read through the official documentation. All right, so I'm going to start the coding demo session, and I just want to let you know that all the coding examples are directly from the official documentations, and I'm just gonna uncomment each section one by one. And now let's try to see how the predefined formats like def, short, tiny, comment, combine, so on work here. So yeah, so I'm just gonna run the node mon. I should have also uncommented this as well. Yeah, so now server is running on 3001, and let's just say hello Morgan logging. So, and do you see all these logging? This is what you're seeing on the command line is the logging HTTP request, as you see here. So combine is, it means depending on what the keyword you put it in, the format will be completely different. And you see the get and the status. and also the response, and also this is the agent, and you see all this long information. And if I wanted to change like dev, same thing. I'm just gonna refresh the page, and as you see here, the format now completely changes. So get 304, and it took about like around like 2 milliseconds, yeah, to get a response. And I just change short, which is another one, and refresh the page, and now I get these HTTP log request. And now the next one is going to be the tiny. So refresh the page, and this is the one that I've got. And as you see here, short and tiny are way simpler than the combined. So if you're just interested in only about like just the basics, then you can just pass in those keywords. But if you wanted to like get to know what's really going on under the hood, including the headers, then the combine would be the right choice that I just showed at the beginning. And next, I'm just gonna show you the comment. Yeah. So now it's going and refresh the page, and you will see something like this, like the time and the logging the HTTP request. So the conclusion here for this one is like depending on the keyword that you pass in, and all the keywords have predefined the logging format. So which means users don't need to manually define their own. And depending on the keyword that users passing in, then the logging formats will just look completely different. I mean, some of them look similar, but it's not entirely the same. Oh, and by the way, like since Morgan is a third party middleware, you need to install Morgan, which is npm install Morgan. All right, so I just uncommented the second one, and which is like defining your own custom tokens. So like, what if you just want to define on your own? Then there are definitely ways you can do. You can just create the token however you want. You can just you can create your own formats however you want. And for example, let's just do run this code, and it runs on localhost 3002. So I'm just gonna do go, and it says hello from, which is the response that we are expecting it. And let's see, yeah, let's see what the response is about. And as you see here, we have the content type, and the user agent, right? Yeah, and then let's go the test one then. So what if I want to go test, then testing the headers, and now it's gonna spit out the different response as you see here. So I'm just going to comment this out, and I'm just going to show you also the next one as well. Yeah, yeah, this is also like custom tokens, and this will log the content type header as you see here, and it will log the full user agent string, protocol, time, query, HTTP version, and yeah, yeah, this was the one I was talking about. You can just customize your own format. You can also like um, jumble around the order as well. So this is the response, the order of the logging that we want, that we're expecting it. So let's just run this. It runs on 3001. So I'm just gonna go to 3001. Hello, Morgan with custom tokens. Now let's see, do you see all these long logging requests? And that all happens because we customize on our own. And then let's just go to testing. Now the testing is message testing custom Morgan log format. And this is the one that we've got. Yeah. Okay, so next I'm going to show you another cool feature using Morgan. So far all the logging HTTP requests that you've seen were from the command terminal, right? On the command line. terminal. So what if you want to see those requests instead on the external file? And there's a way you can do this. So we can configure the program to print the log request in an external file. I mean, so here's the one creating the like where the file you want to write the request to. So it will be access.log, and I'm just running the program as usual and start the server. So now let's go and test it. So it will be just hello world. And now one of the interesting thing happening is that we don't see the HTTP request on the terminal. Rather, we see this in here. So now it's on line number 11. So every time I refresh the page, do you see a new line? It gets populated with a new HTTP request. Yeah, so if you just want to like save the request somewhere on an external file, then the method that I was just introducing you will be useful. So now I'm going to introduce another cool feature that which it is rotating file stream. So what does it mean to rotate a file stream? It means for every interval, it will populate a new log file. So it seems really cool. I really find it really cool. So let's just run the demo. It's gonna be running on the port as usual, 3000. Um, is it? Oh, there was a typo I made. Yeah, it's running on 3001. So server listening on 3001, and now like if you see here, it will create a folder named log, and you see here, um, so it seems like what it means is it's gonna populate a new log file for every 24 hours. But obviously, it's not really interesting, right? So I'm just gonna change it to like 1 second. And do you see all the new files that are getting populated for every seconds? Yeah, so that's the power of rotating file stream that I just introduced. Okay, now depending on what the response is, what if we want to sort of split the logging depending on the type of the response? So for example, let's say if I get an error message, error response, I want to have to print them to the console. And otherwise, it's going to get printed on the external file called access.log. So far it's on line 15, and let's run it now. And so, yeah, as usual, 413,001, hello world, and it's not creating any errors, right? So as you see here, new lines of logging requests have been populated. And now, like, what if we go, like, sort of like, go to this URL, then I set it to like status, like create a status 500. So let's go to the error. Now, internal server error. Um, And as you see here, because I wrote a code to split the HTTP request like to be printed on the console, now you see this type of HTTP request on the console since I said it will generate 500. Because if you take a look at the code, it will log only like 400 level or 500 level responses to the console. Otherwise, it will log all the requests to the access.log. And also like the last one I want to show you is like what if we want to have the token like printed in the form of ID? Then there is a way you can do that. And there's specific one you need to install. For example, if you get an error that cannot find module node UUID, like make sure to install it by npm install node UUID. And now like if you like go and refresh the page, now you see the log formats printed differently in the form of ID. Yeah, so all right, so these were all the cool features that I want to show you in Morgan middleware. And yeah, thank you for listening. my tutorial. Yeah, and see you next time.